Robert and the Attack of the Giant Tarantula, Chapter 7. Buster's Surprise. The school bus was coming in 5 minutes. Robert checked on the animals as usual. "Good morning, Fuzzy," he said, tapping lightly on her tank. "Good morning, Buster." He looked in Buster's cage and gasped. "Mom!" he cried. "Come quick!" Mrs. Dorfman came running. "Oh my," she said. "Oh my, oh my, oh my! Buster had babies." "But Buster is a boy." "Apparently not," said Mrs. Dorfman. "Don't miss the bus, Rob. We'll deal with this later." Lester was happy at first to hear the news when Robert told him at lunch. 7 babies? Way to go, Buster! Then Robert reminded him, now there are 8 rabbits to worry about instead of 1. Lester stopped smiling. What do I do now? Robert wished he knew. "We'll think of something." "We?" Lester asked. "Sure," Robert shrugged. "After all, the bunnies were born in my house." Robert's mom was very clear about what to do. "You have to get rid of them." "How?" "Take them to the animal shelter." "What will they do with them?" Robert asked. "They'll try to have them adopted." Robert was afraid to ask the next question. What happens if they're not adopted? "They can't afford to keep all the animals they get," Mrs. Dorfman said. Her voice got softer. "If nobody wants them, they may put them to sleep." Robert felt like someone had just punched him in the stomach. "You mean forever, right?" His mom nodded. "The only other way is to find homes for them yourself. If you promise me you'll try to do that, you can keep them until they are big enough to be separated from their mother." "I promise," Robert cried. He was sure it would be easy. Everyone would want a bunny. Chapter 8. Emergency Meeting. Robert's mom came into his room with clean laundry to put in his drawers. Bunnies hopped everywhere. One sat on a sock Robert left on the floor. Another cuddled up against one of his dirty sneakers. "Rob, you've had these bunnies for a month. They're big enough to leave their mother. Have you found homes for them?" He and Lester had tried to give them away at school. Mr. Lobel, the science teacher, is taking one for his classroom. "That still leaves 6, his mom pointed out. Plus Buster. Lester's mom would not give in, so Buster needed a home too. Robert called the Van Son Park Zoo. "We have all the rabbits we need," they told him. Next he called Banbury's Chocolates. What if that white rabbit in the commercial was Buster? Robert got a recording and left a message. Nobody called back. "I'll drive you over to the animal shelter this weekend," said Mrs. Dorfman. "The longer you put it off, the harder it will be." Robert called Lester. "We need an emergency meeting," he said. "Tomorrow, lunchtime." The next morning was spent on special projects. Mrs. Berthnall had everyone making dioramas for Earth Day. She was going to put them on display in the school lobby. Paul was busy cutting out strips of aluminum foil. "It's for a river to run through my rainforest," he told Robert. Paul could get lost doing anything with art. Robert wished he had something to keep his mind off Buster and her babies. "Can you come to a meeting at lunchtime?" Robert asked. Paul had good ideas. He and Lester could use his help. "Sure. What's up?" "We have to take the rabbits to the animal shelter this weekend," Robert said, "unless we find homes for them." At lunchtime, Lester was so upset he couldn't eat. "We can let them loose in the park," he said. "And what about the pet store? They sell chicks and ducks and rabbits for Easter." "In the park, they'll be killed or die in no time," said Paul. "And pet stores are even worse. I heard that those animals are treated badly. Kids play with them for a while, then abandon them." At least the animal shelter doesn't starve or hurt them, said Robert. It made his stomach hurt to say it, but he did. Lester's shoulders sagged. Do we have to? He asked. I promised, said Robert. Lester's mouth trembled. Okay, he said.